Welcome. Welcome to the Lowdown with Tony Lowe. And today we have some of my favorite people for an interview. We have Lalin up here in the upper corner, I believe. And we have Aki down below. These folks are part of my favorite, you might even say they're the core of my favorite San Francisco Bay Area live band and recording artist, The SESHEN. This is their new record, Cyan. And it is so good. But if I can pitch it for a minute in case someone tuned in who's not familiar, what I love about the SESHEN, and it's not session like a session band. The name of this band is the SESHEN, SESHEN, named after a flower, I believe, a lotus, a blue lotus. And I'll tell you about them. Click like and subscribe down below somewhere. Do that. So what I like about it is I think you usually get brought up in kind of like electropop conversations. Would you agree with that? That's how I usually hear people categorize you.
Yeah, something like that. I feel like it differs too, but depending on who you're talking to or who's kind of writing about us. But
I think you're right. And I have a theory why. Because it's not, most electropop music, as far as I can tell, is made kind of just very much in a fictional world of Pro Tools and doesn't really have an earth to it outside of that. This is my opinion. And I don't really like electropop usually, so that's why I'm saying it this way. But the SESHEN is very much a band of extremely virtuosic performers who play live instruments. And everything that gets electronically composed seems to have a heart to it because it's actually played a lot on live instruments. Aki is a producer and bass player, and I've seen you play with a bass where the frets are actually like triggers for a synthesizer. So even when you're hearing synth bass, he's performing it. Lalin is an incredible singer, dancer, performer, and no one's going to see this band and not shake their booty. And the whole band, live drums. But you have two drummers, Mahesh on keyboard, other folks come and go. You got Kumar doing all kinds of like almost, I would say like DJ magic or something. What am I missing? Like, what would you say about the work you've been doing and what it's like?
Let's see. I don't know. Can we narrow that down a little bit?
Yes, we can. How do you write a song? What's the first thing that happens?
I'd say a lot of the time it starts with the drum beat. So there's definitely, I think, more often than not, it starts kind of rhythmically. And I try to get it, because I feel like if it's compelling in that regard, there's only so many like chord progressions that a pop song can have. So it's always seemed like a fun way to like jump off into something. And honestly, you know, there's a lot of great songs where chordally there's not much to it.
Sure.
And so it's kind of like it's a fun way to kind of start framing the picture at least. And then other times we'll do things, sometimes it'll just be an intriguing sound, or, you know, occasionally it is just like trying to put some pretty chords together. But yeah, I'd say a lot of the times it starts with a drum beat from at least the production standpoint.
So full disclosure, I at one time did some guitar work with this crew when it was a much less electronic thing and they actually liked things like guitars, these weird rock and roll instruments. But if I can say, coming from Northwest Ohio, where kind of the fundamental place where musicians seem to start here is more about the blues
Mm-hmm.
very traditional styles of blues, and maybe some country thrown in. And people
Mm-hmm.
kind of come up in that here. Of course, there's everywhere you have the top 40 bar band type thing that's going on. But here it's coming from that. And I remember when I went out there, I found out really fast that to go to a jam, you weren't really going to play a lot of blues. At least the jams that I showed up at where you folks were. Everything was kind of island, reggae type feel, but tradition, not some watered down version. You were very particular about the rhythms of it, how the guitar was muting with the left hand, I remember, and it was nuanced, or it's coming from kind of a hip hop place, And so when you're writing these beats, it's not like you're just taking a beat off of something and throwing it in there. It's very calculated, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, yeah, I think I don't know, like, I'd say a sizable amount of the time, like a lot of listening is as much research as it is just like, listening for pure enjoyment and pleasure. And I think the more I go into or like get interested in different electronic genres, they all have their own kind of particular kind of, trademarks or signifiers, and it's fun to just kind of like pull those things in, as I see fit, or if I like them. But yeah, I think it goes for kind of anything I listen to. And yeah, the fun part is I guess just not really, or I guess that's the fun part of like not landing too firmly on any genre, and not kind of limiting that vocabulary.
Well, it works. I mean, this record, I like all the records, but this is my favorite session record for a couple reasons.
Nice.
One, you finally look, there's nothing wrong with the other records. They're great. Heck, I'm on one just a little bit. Just saying. But this one's way better. You've dialed back on the reverb, and you can hear a little bit more of the nuance of what I'm talking about with the rhythm and the instrumentation. And Aki, you're really selling it short in a major way. It's for those watching this right now, it's like I was saying, it's like Nick Drake's Brighter Layer if Bjork covered it. I mean, it's just like so rich, harmonically rich, rhythmically rich. And Lalin is like I said, one of the most talented singers, and your lyrics, Lalin, are also seemingly extraordinarily kind of bare to your soul. And it's not, I get so tired of hearing bands where you have one of two things. You have really self-important lyrics that they bang you over the head with, some message, or throwaway lyrics that are just a bunch of jumbled nonsense with no real art to them. Not everybody's stream of consciousness is interesting. You know what I mean? So what do you not only wrote these songs, but you performed in and danced in a short film for it, and seemingly putting a lot of yourself out there. So what is that like for you? I don't know you in your day-to-day to be who you are on stage, How do you do that? What is that?
I guess that's just the exploration of who we are as human beings. Like, we all have these different aspects of ourselves, and it's really fun to be able to stretch into these other places that can be scary, that are very vulnerable. But I think that's what I love about being human, is that we have all of that at our fingertips, so being on stage and performing is that expression, that place that I get to share my humanity in a totally different way. And writing lyrics is a way to share a piece of myself that can be hard to share in the everyday world. And in the end, I only can hope that other people can relate, or that it can bring some type of solace or anything, you know, and I love that connection through that. So I love it.
Yeah. The first listen to that record is like getting hit with kind of a tidal wave of, you know, information. You know, it's very potent. And after you hear it a couple times, the nuance of it starts to make more sense. But what were you hoping that people would hear in it? What are you revealing, like, when you're writing that stuff?
For this record, you know, I really wanted to share a little bit about just personal struggle, kind of the breaking down of constructs around who you are, and talking a little bit about depression, and also just what it means to, yeah, just break it all down so that you can build it up again. I think that's kind of a lyric. But so I was hoping that people would resonate with that sentiment of just how hard it is sometimes to just be alive, and the changes that we have to go through within ourselves. And I think for me as an artist, I'm always curious about how I can be more vulnerable, you know, and so that's why I really tried with this record to not totally do the stream of consciousness, or, you know, throwaway lyrics or things like that, but to try my best to really tell the story of where I'm at, you know. So
How did you wind up wanting to make a short film? And how, like, did you reach out to someone? Did someone reach out to you? Why was that a necessary part of getting that expressed?
well, we knew we were going to make music videos anyway, and we had worked with this really amazing filmmaker, Dominic Mercurio, for Flames and Figures for the title track. And so we figured, well, if we're going to make music videos, why don't we just do them all together, and it could be a narrative. And so logistically that is cool, and then also thematically that's cool. And so it really kind of felt like an opportunity to challenge ourselves and do something different that we haven't done.
And they're extremely well done videos. I mean, there's a lot of green screening going on. Just a person who purchases a green screen and shoots a video in their living room, this ain't that. It's an amazing bit of production, you know, it's like an art film.
Yeah.
And so you put that out there, and you two and the whole band, you're recording artists for, I forget the label. Who is this? This is
TruThoughts.
TruThoughts. That's British, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how did that come to be? And what are you doing? This is a two-part question. How did you get this deal with them? And what is the nature of it now that everything is, you know, in economic turmoil with this whole COVID-19 issue?
Well, we it was through just relationships. We had sent our music to a family friend, and he passed it around to different people that he knew. And so that's how the record deal came about, was kind of just through like a word of mouth, like, oh, here's some cool music. And we talked to them for a really long time and decided that it would be a cool fit because they're down to see us grow. And right now, I mean, yeah, everything is on pause. Like, you know, we just released the album in February, and then everything happened in March. You know, I mean, started earlier, but, you know, and so we're hoping to just pick up with promoting the record a little bit more at some point.
Are you hearing from the record label? Are they worried? Are they talking to you about plans they have? I don't know what it's like to be a musician at the level of success you are, where you're actually responsible for output, where you have to actually go do something to someone else's game.
No, I mean, I think they're super understanding of the whole situation. There's nothing that they need from us right now, aside maybe some money, but but even that they know, like, of course, we're not making any money right now, and we're not touring like we were planning on touring. And so all they can do is just, hopefully, I think they're still working, so keep promoting the record and doing what they do over there. But for us, we just have to, we are working on more music and things like that, but that's all we can do.
Hey, up and coming artists, did you catch the subtext there? The artists have to pay the label. Did you hear that? Y'all catch that? Oh, the world has become weird. My God. All right, Aki.
Yeah.
First of all, thanks for doing this, because I know this is like super freaking awkward for you. No, I just know you. Oh, good. Okay. Well, I have questions because you are also a producer. You're mixing and working on things for artists, or at least you were. Are you getting work during this lockdown period at the studio? Are you doing work?
Yeah, I am. I'm getting tracks to mix and produce still, and it was slower like the first couple of weeks, but things have kind of picked back up. But yeah, there is a number of clients who are struggling, and this is not a, having me work on their music is not an essential expense. So yeah, there's definitely been an impact, but I'm pretty grateful that I have as much work as I do. So
Man, I gotta tell you, this whole thing, because I had a trio just getting off the ground. I was very happy with. I have like what I think is the best music I've ever written, and it's a more expansive set, and I have people that are playing that can play it, that I'm really, really happy with. And ever since the lockdown, there's plenty of time to work on things in a mechanical way, to practice learning a new chord. Learn a new chord. At this point, I kind of got the chords, but you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's a really hard time for me to feel creative. And I'm wondering if you two are having that experience where, all right, I'm going to sound a little bit hippy dippy here, but I think summoning the muse is a thing that you really have to build a landing pad for that sucker to come in and give you songs. I don't think you can just go about your life carelessly and expect inspiration to appear. I think you have to ready a spot in your life for it. And I've had a very hard time coaxing the muse into this lockdown apartment. And have you had a different relationship to your creative process, with this all happening?
I think the first few weeks of it, I think ideas and stuff seemed to be coming more easily, or at least like I felt like I could be a little more decisive on what I wanted to make even, and how to get there. And yeah, as of late, it's been a little harder to motivate sometimes. And I also, just because of how things have been, I feel like what I'm listening to is changing a lot. And things. I'm listening to things that are just a lot like slower, like ambient music and like, you know, there's always been singer-songwriter records in my rotation, but I'm like leaning more heavily into that, just because it's like, it feels more akin to like, I don't know, reading a novel or something, or like, so that's been kind of a nice way to feel connected. But yeah, as far as like summoning the muse, I've just tried to keep the perspective that it's all a practice, and like days that aren't productive are still a form of productivity, because you just have to keep doing it. And if nothing comes of it, it's not time wasted necessarily. It's just, you know, it's just not there. So
That's kind of a good point. Kind of, it's not fake it till you make it. It's like, try it.
Yeah.
Try it until something happens.
Yeah. It's as long as I'm trying it, then it's like, you know, and discouragement is very real, and like, but as long as I'm trying it, or just trying something new or whatever, I feel like it's like just that's kind of like the setting yourself up to, you know, invite the muse in.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's it.
What about you, Lalin?
Yeah, I mean, it's off and on. Like sometimes I feel creative and ready to do a bunch of things. And a lot of times I haven't, like you, I haven't felt the muse. And I think even today, you know, it's been like a week since I've done anything musical, for example. I think just processing everything, and other types of coping mechanisms coming in, some healthy, some not healthy, you know. And so just like, you know, I think I'm just accepting that these are the waves of it, that, you know, there might be moments where I do feel that energy and I can create and allow myself to heal in that way and not have any attachment to the outcome. Just let it be an expression of what it is that I'm feeling right now, and let that help me and heal me. And then also just, if I need to binge on Netflix or, you know, just stare out the window, then I'll do that, you know. And I think sometimes, I think a lot of us do feel a lot of pressure right now, like, because, you know, some of us are still working or, you know, doing things, and some aren't. You know, I'm not working my day job right now. So it's like, oh, great, I have all the time to like do what I've always wanted to do. But there's a global pandemic and people are stressed and it's hard and it's lonely, and, you know, so I think as long as we can just allow ourselves to just meet ourselves wherever we're at and take it from there, you know?
I now have some potential session fan questions, right? These were not submitted by fans, but I'm going to submit them on behalf of your fans. So and I'll participate too. Let's each kind of give a little window into what we've been listening to like this week. I know it changes every week. Nobody's going to define your life by your latest spin on the old record player, but what have you been listening to? Let's go Aki first, because you brought it up, and you do really good Spotify playlists.
Yeah.
What have I been listening to? I've been listening to a lot of my playlists, actually. But what's on there? Radiohead is kind of like, I mean, I was always listening to Radiohead regularly, so, and I feel like they fit in well with this current situation.
I like their live stuff they put out, those videos. I like that better than the records.
Oh, really? Yeah, I got to check it out. I know they had like this like they made like an online library of their content that is like everything they've ever done, and I've been meaning to check that out since I heard about it, and I totally forgot until now.
They've been performing their albums from soup to nuts live on YouTube.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it really humanizes things.
Yeah.
Because their records are so ethereal a lot of times that it's cool, but when you see them physically creating those sounds, it takes it to a whole other level of wow, they're really talented.
Yeah.
What else you got in the old bucket?
I really like this record by Teebs. He's a producer from LA. And I've been listening to this record by this artist, Hiroshi Yoshimura, which is called Music for 9 Postcards. And it's like kind of minimal ambient record based on this museum that he really loves. It has like, it's basically like 9 different views from that art museum. And like song interpretations of that. So that's been really cool. Nick Drake, I've been listening to Robert Wyatt, who I kind of just got into. Milton Nascimento.
Hey, Aki.
Yeah.
Check this out. Just because it happens to be here. Nick Drake, the album cover for Brighter Later.
Yeah.
You picture it?
Uh-huh.
This is the exact same guitar.
Oh, nice.
It's an old 60s Guild M20. I didn't know it was the same as the famous Nick Drake guitar. And a lot of people dispute it. They say he didn't actually play that on the record. But it's I love it. I love that guitar. It sounds like Nick Drake to me when it's in a little bit of disrepair at the moment.
Yeah.
And Daniel Lanois uses the same one too.
Oh, cool.
And so anyway, little tech nerd stuff for you.
Yeah. No. And then I ever since, when did that record come out? Probably like the past like 6 months I've been listening to this rapper Mavi a lot, because I just like how kind of honest and straightforward his lyrics are. And like when you mentioned like, the stream of consciousness of an interesting person, just like listening to his words, I'm like, man, this is a brilliant person, like, and really insightful. And yeah, so.
Okay, you ready for this, Aki? I have a couple questions here, very important ones. And you're on video. Tupac or Biggie?
I would say Tupac, just as like just in terms of like someone who I think is like a courageous like human being. I think Biggie, like in terms of like flow and just actual like hip hop lyricism is probably, better in that regard. But like in terms of just like, a really like fascinating, brilliant, strong kind of holistic sense, like I would go with Tupac.
That is the correct answer. Tupac, better person. Biggie, way better rapper. Way better. I'm sorry. Okay. Lalin, what you been spinning?
Well, I listen to a lot of Aki's playlists.
They're not bad if you want to hear that stuff.
It's great. It's like, you don't even have to do the work. It's all there for you. And also because we're writing new stuff, so it's good to kind of share that space. And then really loving the Moses Sumney record. I'm still pretty hooked on Jessica Pratt. Like I play her pretty regularly.
Well, these are all really new to me. I need to get hip to some of this.
Oh yeah, they're great. Yeah. And then I have been checking out the new Fiona Apple record too, a little bit.
I love that people like the new Fiona Apple record so much because it's really jarring. And I like that because I get scared for humanity that people always return in pop music to what Captain Beefheart called the mama heartbeat. You know, just lull you to sleep, hypnotize. And his thing was, no, I want my music to wake you up. And I feel like that's Fiona Apple. And I think because if you take someone like Beefheart that's coming at it with, you know, he was throwing at you collages made of shards of early nasty blues and angular, you know, Eric Dolphy and Ornette Coleman type free jazz shards of, it was all composed, but it sounded like all these broken bits of music that popular America doesn't like anyway. Whereas Fiona Apple makes these collages that are very jarring, but they're built with her singing style, which is a very kind of American R&B type approach, I would call it, and sounds that they're familiar in pop music. You know, it's familiar sounds that are cut up and stuck back together. And of course, her messaging is poignant. I don't enjoy it as a listener. I enjoy it as a musician. I listen to her and I take notes. I'm like, oh, wow, she did that? Oh.
Right. Wow. It's definitely not something you want to just like throw on whenever.
I throw on some funny things. I mean, I throw on Beefheart, so that'll, you know.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm a weirdo, but I'm a different kind of weirdo. Yeah, I've been thinking, I made a discovery, and actually, I think you might, if I can, if not great for entertainment purposes, but I am going to look this up because I discovered someone in my Spotify. I like the Spotify recommendations where they're like, your daily mix. They've been doing a bang up job, man. I've been digging their mixes. I really, really have. But let me see. What did I listen to? Oh boy. Well, this is not working. Uh-oh. It's like this guy's name is weird. It's like Air got something. Oh man, what a bummer. Well, I think you might just have to take my word for it that I found somebody cool. And then I've been listening to a lot of older jazz stuff that I never got around to hearing before. So I love, you know, Duke Ellington and Count Basie and Benny Goodman with his sextet, and when he's got Charlie Christian on guitar, stuff like that. Jim Hall, things that I've always known about, but on Spotify, I'm finding all the other stuff, you know, the stuff where I never knew that dude backed that dude up. And, you know, it's just really fun to dive in and see what you've been missing. And I always listen to instrumental blues stuff. I tend to, because I have so much reading and writing to do, I listen to a lot of instrumental music. Because I can't write if I'm hearing lyrics.
Nice.
And a couple more questions. So Lalin, you are an incredible dancer. And have you always just been intuitive? Did you study dance? And I know that you have family. Is your family still in Haiti, or are they all here?
Most are here. I still have extended family there.
Did you learn any traditional dance styles that had to do with Haiti, or because your dancing isn't like other people I know? I don't know what it is. It's just really it's not like, oh, we at the club. It's more special than that, you know?
I mean, I haven't studied dance formally. I love to do it, but I did, when I first moved to the Bay Area, I did discover a Haitian dance class that I did go to from time to time. And I also sang in their dance performance group. I didn't dance in it, but I would sing.
Got
So
it.
I watch them a lot. I'm not always the best actually with choreography and when I have to do something, but I can at least take a little bit of what I've learned and make it my own and incorporate it. So there's definitely some elements in there from that for sure.
Are you familiar at all with gumboots dancing? Do you know about that? Gumboots?
No.
I don't know the history. And if I start to talk about it, I'm probably going to say something so ignorant that it's stupid and offensive because I know so little. But I do know that it has a very rich history for Black Americans. And all I know is I saw a performance once, and there were folks wearing a particular style of boot, and they're dancing a rhythm. So if you think like tap dancing is a small thing, like gum boots would be like a bunch of people in big rubber boots marching to make a rhythm that's hard, but they have these really great dance moves. And here's me gum. Yeah, that looks right. But my point is that you have a heavy style sometimes with the feet. You know, very like planting and doing the thing. And it's a heavy-footed style. And I was wondering if that had if there was a connection, but I'm only making things up as an observer.
Yeah, no connection, but you know, everything, you know, everything's connected. So
I don't know, whatever you two are doing, it's a magical soup. I'll tell you what. It is a magical soup. And I'm sitting here, we're talking, and I'm realizing that I didn't mention it. But both of you are on the Fast Piece of Furniture EP that we recorded in San Francisco.
Yes.
Oh,
Because Aki played bass on that, and you sang the harmonies.
I sure did.
Holy crap, I got famous people on the Fast Piece of Furniture album. It is kind of funny because I've had a couple punk rock famous drummers, and now you two are getting famous out there. The session has been written up in like every San Francisco Bay Area paper, has it not? I mean, I've seen you on so many top lists of critics, and it's funny because if anybody's watching this and they haven't listened, you're just a couple of like super late. I mean, you're just kind of hanging at home and, oh, you know, I just work on I just kind of do my thing. Oh, y'all, it's like it's not a casual thing that's been made. It's a tsunami of musical prowess. I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't dance. I never dance. I mean, I do, but it's just when I listen to music, it's rare that music compels me to get up and dance. But there's a couple things that do. And Fela Kuti will do it, you know, because it's just so intense and I just can't. It's like, oh, there's nothing else going to happen right now. I got to do something. And the Session is another one, man, at those live shows. And I tell people when I recommend the group, I'm like, don't just throw this on your laptop speakers. You know, I mean, it's cool like that and everything. And by the way, Aki, that's one of your gifts as a producer that I respect as a musician. You're able to have those bass lines be audible, like melodically audible on tiny little speakers. And then you can hear a melody down there. So you're getting the information, but if you put it on a proper system, it'll make you like have an accident in your pants. Like it's so low and powerful. So anyway, I tell people, don't just throw this on your computer speakers. You either need really good headphones for the full on like I'm gonna do the laser light show, kick back and maybe or maybe not set something on fire kind of a thing. Or, you know, put it on a big system and crank it up. And I like anything that's got a dreamy soundscape with just thunder beats under it, which happens a lot on a session record. Think like a symphony and some kind of, what? I don't even know. Better than an EDM show for sure, happening below. And I like to drive fast to that music. You know what I mean? Where you've got the expansive like sky and the rumbling tires.
Wow.
Well, it helps to be in Ohio because you can really disappear between some fields and just have it cranked.
Nice.
You know?
Nice.
Oh man, just telephone poles rushing by and nobody's out anywhere because we're quarantined, you know. But here's me. This is essential cranking this.
Aw,
It's amazing.
that's awesome. Thank you, Tony. And it's so cool that, you know, you're part of Session family, Session, you know, legacy, lineage.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that when I'm done with school here, the odds of me staying in Ohio are extraordinarily slim. I do not want to be here. Sorry, Ohio. It's not that Ohio's bad. It's just not for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I explain it like this. It's a good place if your value of what you love to do has to do with kind of like raising a family, for example, being in a nice house with a lot of things, and your social life is happening during the winter months, which is like 11 months here or something, by the fireplace with a hot toddy and friends and hors d'oeuvres, and you can afford, you know, because you're on Ohio rent, you know, you buy a house, you know, nobody rents. There's like $10, give me a mansion. If you value that, Ohio is pretty great actually. You know, you get a lot. Your dollar goes a long way, and it's not that there's no culture. Like one of the best museums in the world. There's plenty of really creative artists, rich musical history here. There's a lot of good stuff. But I'm the guy that just wants to get out in that kayak and go for a hike, and you know what I mean, like that. Yeah. You know, it's like, which field should we walk by today? And people will name parks. Yeah, but there's a great park, and it's like, I know, but I could see the Golden Gate from my house before. You know what I mean? Like, this is different. So my point is, I'll probably end up back out west somewhere. And who knows what kind of America we'll be living in after we rebuild one after all this. But I'm hearing that guitar creep back into these records.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe you're looking for a job, huh? No, I don't know. But I do want to see you guys live again. I want to be there for that because, I don't know, it just seems like I hate that this has interrupted your upward trajectory. You know, that's kind of why I wanted to have you on, really, is just to hopefully someone will meet you and be curious enough to order your album. Someone out here that wouldn't normally hear you, because it needs to get heard, and to hear something with that kind of scope that's not a studio or a label made commodity, but it's actually a band of hard hitting folks bringing it, and to have it be so lush and orchestral and full on rocking at the same time is just, it's just hard to do that. You know, nobody does that. Like, who's out there playing that's a big band right now? You know, like a big band with everybody in the mix that's not playing. You know, you could watch like Wynton Marsalis at Jazz from Lincoln Center for that kind of scope that you get on one of your records, but there's not many pop groups bringing it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're up there, you're listening to a backing track and like one person singing, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And have it be original. You know, it's not like we're going to go up there and do covers and we're going to play a Chicago album because we have a horn section and whatever. It's like, this is a big group with a lot of skill.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anything before we wrap up you want to pitch? You want to talk about? You want to say?
No, other than like just listen to the record if you feel so inclined, and follow us on Spotify. We do like playlists every other week.
Where do they find that? How do they look for it?
For Spotify?
How about all of your online presence? What's your thing? At somebody.
The Session.
I mean, at the Session on Instagram, or if you just search the Session on Spotify, like our playlists are on there, and as well as the records.
SESHEN, like the flower, not the session, like the session man. The Session, like the Blue Lotus flower. SESHEN.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Well, I'm going to stop recording. And thank you so much for setting aside some time. I know everybody says we have time, but man, time is precious, even now. So thank you for that. And again, if anyone, wants to be nice to me, hit that subscribe, like, and go listen to these people, man. This is good stuff. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.